A rough-looking man with a thick beard flung a shaking little girl onto the wet pavement, his heavy boots spraying filthy water across her cheeks. To him she was nothing but a stray worth more sold than saved. He spat on the ground while the child clutched her tattered stuffed bear as if it could shield her from everything cruel. Then a low, ice-cold voice cut through the roar of the rain. Victor Lazar, the billionaire, stepped forward from the shadows. "Touch her again and you'll live just long enough to regret it." The rain lashed the glittering bay of San Remo, smearing the yacht lights into trembling rivers of gold and amber. Waves hurled themselves against the breakwater with a fury that mirrored the thunder tearing the sky apart. In this city of velvet and vice, where Prosecco spilled as freely as the salt wind, no one willingly faced a night like this. But one small soul had no choice. Emma was barely 8, yet she already understood that hunger could twist even the brightest streets into something monstrous. Barefoot, her thin legs slapped through flooded back lanes, her soaked cotton dress clinging to her shivering frame. She pressed the worn-out bear to her heart, the last remnant of a life that felt like another world. Lightning split the darkness, and for an instant her face flashed, wide-eyed, desperate, dark hair plastered to pale cheeks. She no longer knew where she was running, only that the men who had chased her had finally fallen behind. Now she fled the storm itself, fled terror, fled the hollow ache of being utterly alone. High above the harbor, the Lazar villa rose like a fortress of glass and steel, lording over the coast with silent authority. Its walls glowed faintly beneath security floods, gates guarding a domain most people only glimpsed in magazines. To the world it was untouchable, another monument to lives lived far above the rest. To Emma it looked like the last dry place on earth. She wriggled through a narrow gap in the wrought iron fence, scraping her arms raw on the spikes. Her small body vanished into the dripping hedges of the manicured garden. She crouched behind a jasmine shrub, breath fogging in the cold, ready to stay there till dawn if she had to, until the soft purr of an engine drifted up the drive. A long silver car, gleaming even through sheets of rain, eased toward the underground garage. Inside, Victor Lazar gripped the wheel with practiced calm. 47 years old, a name that moved markets from Dubai to Singapore. They called him unbreakable, brilliant, ruthlessly controlled. He lived alone in this cathedral of marble and light, served only by staff who appeared and vanished like ghosts. Success had bought him everything except the one thing he refused to name: someone to come home to. As the car rolled to a stop, he stepped out, keys in hand, already running tomorrow's numbers in his head, until a tiny voice froze him in place. "Sir, could I sleep in your garage tonight? Just till the rain stops." He turned slowly, half convinced the storm was speaking. Then he saw her, drenched no higher than his waist, lips blue, eyes huge with terror and impossible hope. "I'll be very quiet," she added quickly, as if bracing for a blow. Victor blinked, completely unmoored. He had closed deals worth nations. One small girl undid him in a heartbeat. He had no pets, no garage animals. Chaos and fur had never fit his life. But she didn't know that. To her, even a corner out of the rain was paradise. He stared longer than he meant to. Memories he kept locked away rising like ghosts. The thought of an 8-year-old facing this night alone struck him like a fist to the sternum. "You're not staying out here," he said at last, voice steadier than he felt. The girl dropped her gaze to the puddles. "The steps are fine. I won't ruin anything." Something sharp twisted inside his chest. "What's your name?" "Emma," she whispered. He crouched, meeting her eyes. Up close he saw the scratches, the caked mud, the way her whole body trembled. But most of all he saw those eyes, ancient with fear and a fragile, impossible hope. "Emma," he repeated, tasting the word. "You're coming inside. At least until you're warm." Her eyes widened as if he'd spoken in tongues. "Inside the house." "Yes, inside the house." He pushed open the tall oak doors. Golden light spilled over the wet stone steps. For years those doors had opened only for investors, lawyers, strangers in suits. Tonight they opened for a child who had asked for nothing more than shelter from the rain. She hesitated, glancing at her dripping clothes. "I'll ruin the floors." "Floors can be cleaned," he said, and for the first time in years he meant it completely. Slowly, carefully, Emma crossed the threshold. Her bare feet left small wet prints on the pale marble, each one a quiet revolution. She looked up at the crystal chandelier blazing above the sweeping staircase, and her mouth fell open in silent wonder. Victor watched her, an odd mix of pride and shame rising in him. He had built this place to impress the world, yet it had never felt real until seen through her eyes. "I'm Victor," he said, closing the door against the storm. "You're safe tonight." Emma hugged her bear tighter and nodded, hair dripping onto her cheeks. She didn't say thank you. Maybe she didn't yet believe she wouldn't be thrown back into the night. But in her silence, Victor felt responsibility settle on his shoulders like a cloak he had never known he was meant to wear. The storm raged on, but inside the villa a fragile warmth began to grow, one neither the child nor the man yet understood. The villa was a universe Emma had never imagined, warmth pouring from hidden lights, every surface gleaming as though dust had never existed. She stood just inside the threshold, dripping onto the marble, afraid to take another step. The scent of cedar and faint leather hung in the air, so different from the rot and exhaust that clung to her skin. Victor hung his coat and looked down at her, not with irritation but with a cautious tenderness he hadn't felt in decades. "Come," he said, softer now. He led her past paintings that belonged in museums, past silk drapes that swallowed the sound of the storm. Emma trailed behind, fingertips brushing the walls as if to prove they were real. He opened the door to a guest bathroom and she froze. Marble stretched from floor to ceiling, reflecting the glow of a small chandelier. A tub vast as a pond was already filling with steaming water. "Warm water," she whispered, as though the words were sacred. She stood rooted at the threshold, unwilling to believe. Victor set out thick towels, Egyptian cotton, soft as clouds. "It's for you," he said simply. "Take a bath. You'll feel human again." For a moment her lips trembled with the urge to refuse. In her world hot water was a miracle, not a gift. Then she stepped forward, small hand on the marble edge as if it might vanish. She touched the rising steam and a shy smile ghosted across her face. Victor left the door ajar and walked away, surprised by the ache her wonder had woken in him. He had built this house to intimidate tycoons, yet tonight it served a far humbler purpose: to give a child her first taste of kindness. When Emma emerged wrapped in a towel that swallowed her whole, she looked like a different creature. Hair in damp waves, cheeks flushed, eyes wide and wary. Victor handed her one of his plain white shirts. It fell to her knees like a dress. She smoothed the fabric with reverence. "You must be starving," he said. She nodded, stomach growling loud enough to answer for her. In the kitchen he opened a refrigerator full of caviar, truffles, bottles worth thousands. None of it felt right. Instead he heated milk, whisked in dark chocolate until it foamed, and set out warm cookies still soft from the oven. Emma perched on the edge of a tall chair, legs swinging above the floor. When he placed the mug in front of her, she wrapped both hands around it as if it might be snatched away. The first sip made her eyes flutter closed. When she opened them, tears glimmered. "It's too good," she murmured, voice cracking. Victor watched in silence, chest tightening. She nibbled each cookie slowly, then, when she thought he wasn't looking, slipped one into her pocket. Old habits died hard. He said nothing, only felt a quiet grief that a child so young already knew to hoard against tomorrow. When her eyelids began to droop, she asked timidly, "Can I sleep on the rug? I won't make a mess." Victor felt the words like a blade. She was asking permission to exist. "You'll sleep in a real bed," he said, tone leaving no room for argument. Her eyes went huge as he led her up the curving staircase to a guest room rarely used. The bed was an ocean of white linen. Emma froze in the doorway as if it might swallow her. "It's too big," she whispered. "It's yours tonight." He turned down the covers with awkward care. It had been decades since he had tucked anyone in. She climbed up, disappearing into pillows, bear tucked under one arm. As he switched off the main light, leaving only a small lamp glowing. Her voice floated out of the dark. "Thank you, Mr. Victor." The gratitude of a child who owned nothing pierced him deeper than any boardroom victory. He closed the door softly and stood in the hallway a long time, listening to the storm that no longer felt like it was only outside. That night Victor sat in his study surrounded by contracts he couldn't read. His mind kept returning to the small figure under a mountain of blankets down the hall. It wasn't pity. It was something older, heavier, personal. For the first time in years he wondered if all his towers and triumphs had ever been enough. Down the hall Emma slept deeper than she had in months, dreaming not of alleys and hunger, but of warmth, of a voice that had not turned her away. Some wounds cannot be healed in one night, but the storm had given her more than shelter. It had cracked open a door she never knew existed, and for Victor it had shattered a wall he had mistaken for strength. Morning light poured through tall windows, turning the marble floors gold. Emma woke without shivering for the first time in memory. She sat up, clutching her bear, blinking at the glow as if comfort itself were a miracle. Downstairs Victor was already at the long table, coffee cooling beside an unread newspaper. His eyes kept drifting to the hallway, waiting. When Emma appeared in the oversized shirt, hair brushed smooth by her own careful fingers, something in the vast house felt less empty. Breakfast was simple. Warm bread, soft-boiled eggs, slices of peach. Emma ate slowly, saving crusts at the edge of her plate out of habit. Later that morning he told her gently, "You need clothes that fit." She looked alarmed until he added, "We'll go together. Just a few things." They drove down the coast to Genoa, the silver car gliding through sunlit curves. Emma pressed her face to the window, eyes huge at shop windows and cathedral spires. In a quiet boutique she chose the plainest, cheapest things she could find, tugging his sleeve. "These are enough, Mr. Victor." "Really?" He crouched to her level. "Emma, you deserve more than enough." As they walked to the register she suddenly went rigid, small hand crushing his fingers. Through the glass she had seen 3 men lounging across the street, eyes locked on her. "It's them," she breathed, terror flooding her voice. The men started moving. Victor pulled her close and stepped outside, body shielding hers. The biggest one, bearded, grinning like a wolf, spoke first. "Found our little runaway, huh? She belongs to us." Victor's voice cut like steel. "She's a child. You will never touch her again." The men laughed, loud and ugly. Passers-by looked away, and in that moment Victor understood his money and name meant nothing here. This was a world ruled by fear. He felt Emma's fingers digging into his sleeve as the men closed in, threats dripping from every word. "Pretty girls disappear easy," the bearded one hissed. "Unless someone makes it worth our while." Victor reached for his wallet, not because he believed money would end it, but to buy seconds. He handed over a thick fold of euros. "Take it and vanish." They took the cash, smirking sharper. Cash doesn't change what she is. Strays always crawl back. Emma was shaking so hard he felt it in his bones. He got her into the car, locked the doors, and drove away fast. She buried her face in his sleeve. "They never stop," she whispered. "Never." Back at the villa silence hung heavy. Victor knew the money had only bought time. That evening a knock came. A social worker from Livorno, Elena Moretti, calm-eyed and kind-voiced. She asked gentle questions Emma couldn't answer without clinging to Victor's arm, pleading. "He keeps me safe. Please don't make me go back." Elena explained laws, paperwork, the slow grind of the system. Victor felt rage at the thought of bureaucracy deciding a child's fate. Later his younger sister arrived from London like a cold wind. Cecilia Lazar swept in, designer coat dripping, voice sharp. "Victor, have you lost your mind? A street child. Do you have any idea what the press will do with this?" Her words cut deeper than the thug's threats. To Cecilia everything was image, legacy, the empire. But when Victor looked at Emma curled small on the sofa, eyes terrified at the thought of losing the first safety she had ever known, he knew his choice was already made. The following weeks were tense. Security tightened, but fear lived in Emma's eyes every time a car slowed outside the gates. One afternoon, while Victor was locked in meetings with lawyers about temporary guardianship, Emma went with Elena for a routine medical check in the city. He had not wanted her to go without him, but Elena promised safety, and Emma begged for a taste of normal. Hours later his phone rang. Elena's voice broke. Victor, they took her. 3 men had cornered them outside the clinic, shoved a note into Elena's hand, dragged Emma screaming into a van. They gave you 24 hours. 100,000 euros or she disappears forever. Ice flooded his veins. That night he withdrew the money, every bill feeling like blood. At midnight the call came. The bearded man's voice slithered through the phone. We have her. Bring 200,000 to the old docks in Marseille. Come alone. Elena begged him to call the police. Victor refused. If they smell cops, she's gone. For the first time in his adult life he felt powerless, stripped of every weapon money had ever given him. Yet beneath the helplessness burned something fiercer. He drove through the night to Marseille, duffel bag heavy on the passenger seat. The abandoned warehouse stank of salt and rust. A single bulb swung overhead. Emma sat tied to a metal chair, face pale, cheeks streaked with dried tears. When she saw him her eyes lit like sunrise. Mr. Victor. Let her go, he said, voice calm, hands white on the bag strap. The bearded man stepped from the shadows with his 2 accomplices. Money first. Victor tossed the bag. Everything you asked. Now cut her loose. The man laughed. She's worth more alive in other markets. Pretty thing like her. Before Victor could move, Emma's voice rang out, astonishingly steady. You can't sell me. Because I know exactly who you are. The man froze. I heard you talking, she continued. Your name is Marco Rinaldi. You live on Via dei Fiori. Your daughter Giulia goes to Santa Lucia school. She turned to the second man. And you, Luca, your mother is dying in San Giovanni Hospital. You don't want her to know what her son really does. The warehouse went still. Their arrogance cracked like thin ice. Even Victor stared, stunned by the steel in her small voice. In the distance sirens began to wail, growing louder. Elena had called the police after all. The men panicked. Rinaldi slashed the ropes around Emma's wrists and bolted. Victor ran forward, catching her as she launched herself into his arms. She clung to him with desperate strength, shaking. I knew you'd come, she whispered against his chest. No one will ever take you from me again, he said, voice breaking. Police flooded the warehouse minutes later, but the kidnappers had melted into the night. Emma stood beside Victor, small hand in his, chin high. She had faced monsters and beaten them with nothing but memory and courage. And Victor understood then that she had saved him just as much as he had saved her. 6 months later the villa no longer echoed with silence. Laughter spilled down hallways. Crayon drawings covered the refrigerator. A soccer ball lived permanently in the garden. On the morning of the adoption hearing in Lisbon, Victor stood before the mirror knotting his tie with shaking hands. Today she would become his daughter in the eyes of the law. Emma ran in wearing the pale green dress she had once only dared touch through a shop window. Do I look okay? She asked, spinning. You look perfect, he said, kneeling, eyes suddenly wet. Absolutely perfect. In the sunlit courtroom, when the judge asked where she wished to live, Emma answered without hesitation. With my dad. The word hung in the air like grace. Victor let the tears fall, no longer caring who saw. Papers were signed. Outside, even Cecilia embraced Emma, mask slipping into something genuine. You really are family now, she whispered. Back in San Remo the villa had become a home. Books scattered, toys underfoot, warmth in every corner. Victor founded Emma's Harbor, shelters across Europe that gave children not just beds but futures. The first opened in Naples, near the streets she once ran barefoot. At the ribbon cutting Emma stood proud beside him, small hand in his. We're helping them, aren't we? She whispered. Yes, love. Because you taught me how. One quiet evening she led him to the garden, to a corner where rain had once soaked her to the bone. There stood a little wooden house, freshly painted sky blue, surrounded by flowers she had planted herself. On a plaque were carved the words, "For every child still looking for a door that opens, and for those who have found one." Victor knelt, arm around her shoulders. "You once asked me for a corner out of the rain," he said softly. Emma looked up, eyes shining. "But you gave me a home." "No, little one," he whispered, voice breaking. "You gave me one. You gave me everything." As the sun sank into the sea and the first stars appeared, Victor understood the storm that had driven a trembling child to his gate had not been punishment. It had been the greatest gift of his life. Sometimes, when the evening grew quiet, Emma would ask to hear the story again. The rain, the question, the open door. And Victor would tell it not as a tale of rescue, but as the night their real life began. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive with trumpets or contracts. Sometimes it arrives soaked and shivering, clutching a worn-out bear, asking the simplest, bravest question in the world. "Can I stay?"